7 levels of power characterize the different characters found within the Star Wars galaxy. While the Jedi and Sith often dominate the history of the galaxy, certain individuals and beings operate on a scale that dwarfs the capabilities of ordinary Force users. Drawing from both Canon and Legends material, a hierarchy appears that ranges from living masters of the Force to cosmic entities that transcend the physical plane. Before ranking power, we need to define it. The Force is a universal power that connects all things. It flows through the galaxy in 2 forms: the living force, which is the energy of present life, and the cosmic force, the greater current that binds the universe together. While midichlorians allow a person to sense this energy, the true strength of a master is found in their impact on the physical world. To rank these beings, we look at 3 specific factors: scale, the size of the objects that they can move; stamina, how long they can hold that power without breaking; and reach, how far across the galaxy their influence stretches. The first level represents the ceiling of what a biological entity can achieve through training, ritual, and raw talent. These are beings whose presence on a battlefield shifted the course of galactic history. Before exploring those who reshape the galaxy through raw power, we must look at the man who defined the absolute limit of Jedi discipline: Mace Windu. Known in both canon and legends as the Order's most remarkable champion, Windu is a solid standard for Mortal Kombat. He didn't rely on ancient reality-warping rituals. Instead, he mastered Vapad, a mental workaround that allowed him to channel an opponent's own darkness back at them. His mastery of Shatterpoint perception, which was a specific ability to see the fault lines in people, politics, and reality itself, allowed him to move with a level of precision that few can match. His focus alone can overcome even the most overwhelming dark-side energy, famously besting Darth Sidious in a duel in the canon film Revenge of the Sith. Darth Sidious stands as the classic benchmark for this level. In the canon timeline, Palpatine concealed his dark-side presence from the Jedi for years while operating at the center of galactic politics. He was able to do this even when standing in the same room as the Grand Master. His power escalated from the surgical precision of his duels to the cosmic scale destruction seen during the Battle of Exegol, where he unleashed Force lightning at a scale that struck numerous capital ships in orbit at once. In the Legends records, his power was even more reality-defying. He was capable of conjuring enormous hyperspace anomalies known as force storms that distorted space and pulled fleets across great distances. Luke Skywalker serves as the light side counterpoint. His early career was defined by the guided proton torpedoes at the Battle of Yavin, but his peak demonstrated a reach that spanned the galaxy. On the planet Actos, Skywalker projected a physical interactable image of himself across thousands of light years to Crate, a feat that remains unmatched in modern records. In Legends, Luke's power reached even further. He confronted threats whose influence spanned multiple systems and sustained prolonged high-level Force battles. Revan represents the ancient standard of this level. His status is defined by a life that balanced both Jedi and Sith philosophies, a journey chronicled in the Legends records of Knights of the Old Republic and the novel The Old Republic Revan. His ability to channel both the light and dark sides simultaneously marked him as one of the most versatile and intimidating Force users of his era. Beyond his raw power, Revan was a master tactician who used the Force to coordinate entire fleets, turning the tide of the Mandalorian wars through sheer willpower. His legacy is that of a man who could defy the Sith Emperor's influence for centuries, proving that his mental discipline was as unbreakable as his physical strikes. Power at this level is no longer about the movement of the objects, but the total control over the laws of physics. To these individuals, a starship is not a vessel of metal and engines, but a pebble to be cast aside. The second level examines individuals who defy the natural order and refuse to stay dead. Level 1 beings demonstrate peak power in the material world, but those in Level 2 operate from the cosmic force, maintaining their agency through either total surrender or forced essence transfer. Qui-Gon Jinn was the first Jedi of the modern era to rediscover the path to post-mortal existence. In the canon animated series The Clone Wars, Jin learned to retain his identity by surrendering his physical form to the Force, though his initial training was incomplete, allowing him to manifest only as a voice. Because his training was unfinished, his ability to take physical form as a shimmer of light was initially restricted to environments where the Force was unusually strong, such as the planetary nexus of Mortis or the Wellspring of Life. He served as the primary instructor for Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda, teaching them that immortality is not gained by hoarding power, but by letting go of the self. By the time of the original trilogy, both Kenobi and Yoda had mastered this state, manifesting as fully visible spirits capable of interacting with the living, and in Yoda's case, during the events on Ahch-To, even summoning lightning from the sky to impact the physical world. Darth Sidious approached post-mortal existence through the lens of a predator rather than a passenger. In canon, Sidious survived through dark-side knowledge and a cloned body sustained on Exegol. Legends continuity described his use of essence transfer, a dark-side technique that allowed his consciousness to survive his death aboard the second Death Star during the Battle of Endor. In the Legends comic Dark Empire, his spirit traveled across the galaxy to inhabit a series of young clone vessels, proving that his will was too great to be contained by a single life cycle. This unnatural survival required a constant, draining exertion of power to prevent his new bodies from decaying under the sheer weight of his dark side's presence. Darth Bane and Exar Kun represent the diverse ways Sith spirits anchor themselves to the material plane. In the Legends novel Dynasty of Evil, Bane attempted to seize the body of his apprentice Xana through essence transfer, seeking to ensure the survival of his rule of two through a literal continuation of his own mind. However, the ritual failed as Xana's will proved superior. Similarly, in the Legends comic book series Tales of the Jedi, The Sith War, Exar Kun used a mass ritual involving the life force of thousands of Massassi warriors to bind his spirit to the great temples of Yavin 4. His post-mortal form remained active for thousands of years, eventually manifesting to corrupt students of the New Jedi Order until he was finally extinguished by a collective effort of the Jedi. Frida Nad shows the danger of spirits that refuse to transition. Nad remained a potent presence in his tomb on Onderon for centuries, directly guiding the rise of the Nadist cult and influencing the dark side path of Exar Kun. Even in death, his shadow was so oppressive that it required the collective power of the Jedi and the light side of the Force to finally purge his lingering essence from the physical world. Darth Krayt represents the absolute persistence of the Sith will. Originally a Jedi of the Old Republic named Asharad Het, he survived the deserts of Tatooine and the horrific biological torture of the Yuuzhan Vong to eventually found the One Sith. Krayt functions as a hybrid in this tier. He does not seek to leave the physical world behind, but instead use the Force to delay death, but not quite moving into spirit form. His place is supported by his mastery of Force-induced stasis, a technique documented in the Legends Legacy-era campaign guide that allowed him to suspend his biological clock for over a century. By alternating between deep Force trances and Yuuzhan Vong technology, Krayt paused his mortality, treating his body like a machine that could be maintained indefinitely. In the Legends comic series Star Wars Legacy, his eventual rebirth proved that his stasis was merely a prelude to a greater subversion. After being betrayed and struck down, Krayt used the time spent in the abyss of death to rebuild his body. His resurrection was a total rewrite of his biological and spiritual state. By mastering the forbidden dark transfer ability, he proved that a sufficiently powerful will can treat death as a temporary transition. He returned to the galaxy not as a revitalized conqueror, turning his physical form into a vessel he could rewrite at will. Depending on their willingness to fade, the spirit that refuses the call of the cosmic force becomes either a guide for the future or a parasite on the present, depending entirely on their willingness to fade. Level 3 identifies entities that exist as structural ruptures within the Force. These are not traditional practitioners of the light or dark sides. They are infections, neutralities, or parasites that move through corruption and multiform presence. Their power is defined by their ability to influence or consume entire environments regardless of distance or physical barriers. These beings do not only use the Force, they exist outside the conventional cycle of life and death. Abeloth, documented in the Legends novel Fate of the Jedi Apocalypse as the bringer of chaos, represents the most significant disturbing anomaly in recorded history. Originally the mortal servant to the Ones, she became the mother and, in a desperate bid to remain immortal as she aged, drank from the font of power and later bathed in the pool of knowledge. This forbidden combination corrupted her cellular structure, transforming her into an entity of pure chaos. Her transformation eventually required the construction of the Maw Cluster, a dense hive of black holes, to serve as her prison. Abeloth's power was demonstrated through her ability to manifest multiple avatars across different star systems at once. She did not require physical travel, but projected her consciousness into the minds of Force sensitives, including a condition known as Force psychosis. Her reach allowed her to seize control of the Galactic Alliance capital on Coruscant, while simultaneously battling Jedi in the unknown regions. Defeating her involved a unique tactical alliance. Luke Skywalker confronted her through Force-based manifestations beyond physical space. At the same time, his son Ben Skywalker and the Sith apprentice Vestara Kai hunted her physical manifestations. By using a specialized dagger and targeting her emotional ties to the material world, Ben and Vestara provided the necessary leverage to weaken her avatars. This allowed the Jedi and Sith to successfully shatter her hold on reality and reseal her within the Maw. Mungle Mungle represents a different form of abnormality. In the Legends reference book, The Essential Atlas, it is a sentient, parasitic liquid consciousness from the unknown regions. This entity does not possess a singular body or a traditional Force signature. Instead, it exists as a gray sludge that consumes and replaces the internal matter of its victims while retaining their memories. The scale of its power is measured by its total disregard for the natural flow of the Force. Because it hollows out its hosts without truly killing them, it creates a dead zone in the Force, preventing energy from ever returning to the cosmic cycle. Mungle Mungle has turned entire star systems into silent husks, functioning as a singular expanding consciousness that cannot be reasoned with or destroyed through standard combat. On the other hand, Valkorion and Darth Nihilus represent the apex of the parasitic abnormality within the Sith tradition. Like the gray sludge of the unknown regions, these beings do not participate in the Force, but feed on it. In the Legends novel, The Old Republic Revan, Valkorion achieved near-perpetual life by consuming the life force of the entire planet Nithema. This ritual did not just kill the inhabitants, it drained the Force from the world. His power is not generated from within, but stolen from the galaxy on a planetary scale to maintain his presence across multiple host bodies. Darth Nihilus the Devourer is a walking void. He ceased to have a physical form, and instead became a hunger-given consciousness. His presence is a localized catastrophe. He is capable of eating the life energy of entire civilizations just by being in proximity to them. In the Legends video game Knights of the Old Republic 2, his power is described as an uncontrollable gravitational pull that consumes everything it touches. To fight Nihilus is not a duel of skill, but a struggle to keep your soul from being pulled into a black hole. While some abnormalities are born of ancient fonts or alien biology, Lord Nyax represents a rupture created through dark science and surgery. Originally the Dark Jedi Irek Ismarin, he was lobotomized and rebuilt by Imperial remnants into a living weapon. His skull was implanted with Force-reactive crystals that functioned as biological amplifiers, turning his brain into a conduit for raw power that far exceeded the capacity of a natural mind. Nyax moves through this tier because he did not use the Force, he hemorrhaged it. In the Legends record Enemy Lines 2 Rebel Stand, his presence was so volatile that he tapped into the ancient Force well beneath the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, drawing enough energy to physically grow in size and project blades of pure Force energy from his limbs. He existed as a glitch in the natural order, a being that treated the Force as a raw fuel source to be burned, requiring the combined efforts of Luke Skywalker and other masters just to momentarily stall his output. Like Mungle Mungle, Nyax cannot be fought with traditional strategy. He was an explosion of energy that threatened to consume the environment around him simply by existing. The Bendu serves as the neutral anchor of this tier, representing a state between the light and dark sides. Encountered on the remote planet Anakin in the animated series Star Wars Rebels, the entity identifies himself by calling himself the One in the Middle. His power does not come from training, but from an ancient connection to the environment of his world. This was demonstrated during the Imperial assault on Anakin, where the Bendu manifested his will as a localized storm. The Bendu showed the ability to disappear from physical sight and reappear as a giant cloud-like entity, striking down both Imperial walkers and Rebel starships with bolts of lightning. Unlike mortal Force users who experience physical strain when channeling such energy, the Bendu's stamina appeared absolute. He remained part of the planet's atmosphere even after his physical form was seemingly scattered by blaster fire. He expressed his power through environmental phenomena tied to his world, not seeking to conquer or guide the galaxy, but to exist as a physical manifestation of the Force's indifference to the moral conflicts of Jedi and Sith. His existence in Star Wars Rebels proves that the Force can manifest as a direct force of nature that treats even the most powerful technological armies as minor disturbances. The Bendu represents the Force as an unstoppable element of the natural world. He is a force of nature that cannot be tamed. He exists as a part of the environment, but there is one being who proved that such terrifying power could actually be contained within a human heart. The history of the galaxy is filled with individuals who study the Force to achieve greatness, but one figure occupies a tier defined by his nature, not his training. Anakin Skywalker was a biological anomaly. The Jedi identified him as a rare vergence in the Force. A vergence is a rare and localized concentration of Force energy that usually exists within an ancient temple or a sacred site. For the Force to manifest this density of energy within a living, breathing person was a singular event that shattered all previous understandings of potential. This tier is necessary because Anakin does not just use the Force, he's the Force given human form, a living exception to every rule of mortal potential. This unique state was confirmed by his midichlorian count, described as a concentration of microscopic life higher than any Jedi had previously recorded. His life was marked by rapid and violent escalation. In the canon film The Phantom Menace, his journey began as a desert slave on Tatooine, where his connection to the energy field was so innate that he could compete in high-speed pod racing. It wasn't a skill he practiced, but a natural result of his mind perceiving physical events before they occurred. By the height of the animated series The Clone Wars, his power had scaled to a point of constant battlefield impact. He was documented performing feats that ignored the physical strain typically associated with the Jedi, such as using the Force to dismantle complex droid machinery with a single motion, or leaping from starfighters at extreme heights and slowing his descent through raw will. The true limit of Anakin's power became clear during his time in the mysterious world of Mortis. While even the strongest Jedi struggled to move large objects or influence a single mind, Skywalker stepped into a realm where he stood face to face with the living spirits of the light and dark sides. During a test of his power, he didn't just fight the son and the daughter, he seized them both at the same time, forcing them to bend to his will. At that moment, the basic laws of the galaxy were under his control, an act that didn't come from a trick he learned. As the Chosen One, he was the only person alive with the power to bridge the gap between both sides of the Force. By proving he could rule over these ancient beings, he showed that his power comes from a deeper place than theirs, not just a part of the balance, but the source of it. His power was further illustrated by his mastery over those he trained, most notably his apprentice, Ahsoka Tano. During their time in the Clone Wars, Skywalker's influence allowed Tano to achieve a level of combat proficiency that rivals senior Jedi Knights. However, the most profound display of his dominance occurred during their reunion in the world between worlds, a mystical plane that exists outside of time and space. Even in this realm of pure cosmic energy, Skywalker controlled the environment entirely, manifesting as a reflection of both his former self and his dark persona. He manipulated the physical laws of the dimension to force Tano into a spiritual and physical confrontation, proving that his reach extended beyond the physical universe and into the very fabric of time. Following his fall to the dark side in the canon film Revenge of the Sith, the expression of his power shifted. His physical defeat on Mustafar and his confinement in a life support suit prevented him from reaching the full potential he showed on Mortis. However, the scale of his reach remained devastating. In the Legends book, The Jedi Path, it is noted that even though his mobility was restricted, his ability to exert kinetic force increased significantly. He could crush the heavy durasteel hulls of starships or hold back the crushing weight of the ocean within underwater facilities through sheer focus. His existence became a study in the persistence of power over a broken body. Even in his diminished state, the scale of his impact was absolute. During the raid on the Jedi Temple in Revenge of the Sith, he moved through the halls with a lethal efficiency that exceeded human reflexes, clearing entire chambers of defenders. He did not rely on the elaborate maneuvers, but used the Force to make his physical strikes stronger until they became unstoppable. Anakin Skywalker remains in a tier of his own because he was the only being whose power was a direct reflection of the Force's own strength. He was a creature of prophecy whose actions, from his birth on Tatooine to his final moments, were fueled by an energy count that no other mortal could hope to match. Anakin Skywalker represents the absolute peak of what a physical body can hold, but his existence was only possible because of a deeper system. To understand where his power came from, we have to look past the living heart and into the ancient structures that define the light and the dark. Level 5 introduces the mythic architects who serve as the original blueprints for the Force. These beings move beyond the biological and the parasitic to exist as the physical pillars of balance, light, and dark. While even the strongest mortals must study or steal power, the family of Mortis generates it as a natural part of their existence. Their influence is so great that they can alter the spiritual state of the entire galaxy, acting as the foundation for the energy that every Jedi and Sith draws upon. In the Clone Wars animated series, the Mortis trio, which consists of the father, the daughter, and the son, resided in a monolithic structure that appeared as a realm separated from normal galactic space. Mortis acted as an anchor for the Force, where day and night shifted based on the dominance of the siblings. The father acted as the keeper of balance, having spent eons restraining his children to prevent their conflicting natures from tearing the fabric of reality apart. The daughter represented the selfless light, and the son embodied the destructive dark. Their story reached a turning point during the Clone Wars when the father, sensing his own impending death, lured Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Ahsoka Tano to the realm to determine if Skywalker was truly the chosen one who could replace him. The scale of their power was immediate and absolute. The son and the daughter did not use lightsabers or traditional forms of combat. They transformed into gigantic winged creatures, a griffin for the daughter, and a bat-like monster for the son, to engage in physical manifestations of their ideological war. To test Anakin, the father orchestrated a trial where the son and daughter seized Skywalker's companions. Anakin demonstrated his unique potential by using the Force to physically force both siblings to their knees simultaneously, a feat that no mortal being had ever achieved. However, the balance was shattered when the son, consumed by a desire to escape Mortis and dominate the galaxy, attempted to kill the father with the dagger of Mortis. The daughter sacrificed her life to take the blow, leading to a cascade of destructive effects across the realm. The conflict concluded with the total extinction of the trio. The son, losing his connection to the light, spiraled into madness and corrupted Ahsoka Tano, leading to a final confrontation where the father committed suicide to strip the son of his immortality. This allowed Anakin Skywalker to strike the final blow. The deaths of these entities ended a family and removed the physical anchors of balance from the universe, leaving the Force in a state of flux that would define the coming decades of galactic war. Their story proves that even the most powerful beings are subject to the requirements of balance, and that the Force can manifest in physical forms that govern the very cycles of day and night across the stars. Legends continuity in the Essential Atlas bridges these beings to the physical history of the galaxy through the architects. Records preserved in the Turret-Killic Hive memories suggest that the Ones were the beings responsible for the construction of impossible star systems. Using the Killics as a labor force, they were linked to the creation of Centerpoint Station, a massive tractor beam array used to move planets into specific orbits. They also engineered the Maw Cluster, a dense formation of black holes designed specifically to serve as a prison for Abeloth. These beings literally built the landscape where galactic history would unfold. The vacuum of space was a canvas, and gravity was a tool to be shaped according to their design. But beyond the construction of matter lies the regulation of the soul, and some entities oversee the boundary between existence and the infinite. Level 6 reveals the entities that function as the constitutional authority of the Force, maintaining the laws that govern life and death itself. These beings are not concerned with the political or territorial wars between the Jedi and the Sith. They serve as the keepers of the gateway between the living Force and the cosmic Force. They act as the ultimate authorities on the preservation of identity after death, guiding Yoda through the process of learning how identity could persist after death. In the canon animated series The Clone Wars, these 5 shape-shifting entities reside on a nameless world, often referred to as the Force Planet. They represent the core emotions of serenity, joy, anger, confusion, and sadness. Their world is located at the literal heart of the galaxy, a location described in the archives as the wellspring of life. This is the birthplace of all midichlorians, the microscopic organisms that allow living beings to connect with the Force. The priestesses are not alive in a traditional sense, and they aren't typical Force spirits. They are ancient manifestations of the Force's will that have exceeded the need for physical permanence, names, or individual history. The scale of their power is measured by their total control over the transition into the afterlife. In the Clone Wars, when Grandmaster Yoda sought the secret to retaining his memories after dying, the priestesses subjected him to a series of severe spiritual trials. These trials were designed to strip away his ego and force him to confront his inner darkness. This demonstrates that the priestesses possess the unique authority to grant or deny the ability to become a Force spirit. Their reach is not over star systems or physical territory, but over the very cycle of reincarnation and the flow of energy from the living world back into the cosmic wellspring. Furthermore, the priestesses exist outside the standard passage of time, beyond fatigue or aging, as they are part of the ecosystem that creates life. They ensure that the Force remains a closed and balanced loop, acting as the guardians of the laws that govern the universe's energy. To the priestesses, even the most powerful Jedi or Sith are temporary. Their concern is not who wins a war, but the purity of the souls that seek to merge with or remain separate from the cosmic Force. They are the interpreters of the Force's most basic laws, securing and maintaining the boundary between the cycle of existence. However, even laws can be rewritten. Above the interpreters of reality sit the entities who define it. This level moves beyond the management of souls into the total control of existence itself. At the absolute summit of the hierarchy lies a category of existence that defies the standard definitions of power, light, or dark. These beings treat the material universe as a draft that can be rewritten, possessing the power of direct authorship over reality. The Bedlam Spirits are Force spirits introduced in the Legends comics, Star Wars, Devil Worlds, and described in the Essential Atlas as one of the ancient mysteries of the galaxy. They exist outside the flow of linear time and the traditional living cosmic framework. They go by Telatni, Horus, Kol Digra, and Splendid App. Unlike the Jedi or Sith, their abilities are not an exertion of will through the Force, as it is commonly understood. Instead, they demonstrate a casual manipulation of the physical world that borders on the divine. The scale of their power is measured by their ability to alter the molecular structure of matter with a thought. They have been observed transforming living beings into crystalline statues, or reversing the state of death as if they were making a minor adjustment to an object. In one recorded instance, the spirit Telatni manifested in the Bedlam Pulse and created matter out of nothingness, demonstrating that for these beings, the distinction between life and non-life is entirely subjective. The Bedlam Spirits don't require rituals, force links, or specialized training. Their power is part of their existence. The sheer indifference of these entities was most famously documented during an encounter with Princess Leia Organa on their planet. In this instance, the Spirit Talatni demonstrated that she did not even understand the concept of linear time or biological fragility. Upon encountering Leia and a group of Imperial stormtroopers, Talatni grew frustrated with their limitations and casually transformed the soldiers into inanimate diamonds. Even more disturbing was her treatment of Leia. Although it wasn't done out of malice but out of childlike curiosity, Talatni edited Leia's physical form, accidentally killing her by stripping away her life signs to see how she was constructed. When another spirit, Horlus, pointed out that Talatni had broken the life form, Talatni reversed the event and restored Leia and the stormtroopers to life without batting an eye. To the Bedlam Spirits, a hero of the rebellion like Leia Organa was nothing more than a toy, a collection of atoms to be disassembled and reassembled on a whim. Unlike the Celestials, who use gigantic technology like Centerpoint Station to move planets, or the Priestesses who guard spiritual transitions, the Bedlam Spirits demonstrate a total indifference to the consequences of their actions. Their reach is universal, but their motivations are often described as chaotic or even playful. They remain the most unknowable forces in galactic history, moving at a boundary where the Force meets the elemental essence of creation. If this hierarchy of the 7 levels change how you see the scale of the Force, there are deeper histories to explore for the individual anomalies who broke these rules. You can witness the full scale of a level 3 rupture in the complete timeline of the Lord of Hunger, or trace the rise of the ultimate level 3 anomaly, the Mother of the Force herself.